Good afternoon, dear colleagues and viewers of the Voice of the Satellite Industry. This is Ksenia Drozdova, chairperson of the Operations Committee of IOSC Intersputnik. We're continuing a series of interviews with the management of the organization's Operations Committee member companies. Today, I am very glad to welcome our guest, Acting General Director of the Russian Satellite Communications Company, Yuri Prokhorov. Good morning, Yuri. Hello, Ksenia. Before we start, I'd like to say a few words about the company that you lead. RSCC is one of the oldest satellite operators who has been in the market for more than 50 years. Over the past 10 years, the company has nearly doubled its satellite assets. Today, 10 medium and heavy express-type satellites are in operation. The company is considered one of the top 10 satellite operators in the world. It actively sells its services in 58 countries on all continents, and we receive about 52% of the revenue from international sales. RSCC representative is in the board of directors of Eutelsat. Our company is actively cooperating with international organizations. It has been also a member of the operations committee of IOSC Intersputnik for more than 15 years. And now, a couple of words about our today's guest, Yuri Prokhorov. In 1984, he graduated from the Moscow Technological University, Department of Radio Engineering. He worked for almost 30 years in research and production companies of the space industry of the Russian Federation. In 2007, he resigned as Director General of the Khrushchev State Research and Production Space Center to join the Department of New System Projects of Intellect Telecom, JSC, and since 2009, he has been leading Russian satellite communications company. At different times throughout his career, Mr. Prokhorov took the lead on creation and operation of modern telecommunication systems for the benefit of the entire space industry, and most importantly, in such remote and crucial for our economy places as Baikonur and Plisatsk launch facilities. Yuri controlled the development of onboard transponders for telecommunications satellites at the Khrushchev State Research and Production Space Center and led the activities aimed at creation and commissioning of the Russian segment of Iridium Global Personal Mobile Communication System. Mr. Prokhorov is a merited test engineer of space hardware and full member of International Academy of Telecommunications. He is the author of many articles on strategic development of satellite communications in Russia. He is a member of Government Commission for in-orbit tests of space systems designed to serve social and economic, scientific research, and commercial purposes. He was awarded the Order of Friendship, Medal of the Order for Merit to the Fatherland, and other departmental awards. Yuri, your whole career has been associated with space exploration for the benefit of the country's economy and provision of communication services in the most hard-to-reach geographic areas, such as Baikonur and Plisatsk and other regions. I think there is no place in the Russian Federation which is not covered by the companies where you have worked on and or your personal interests. So, my first question is rather philosophical rather than professional. In one of the interviews, the great science fiction author and visionary Ray Bradbury said that people made a lot of stupid things. Costumes for dogs, marketing manager position, and stuff like the iPhone, getting nothing in return but a sour aftertaste. But if we'd worked to develop science, explore the moon, Mars, and Venus, who knows what the world would have been like? Humanity would be able to travel through space, but it chose consuming instead, drinking beer and watching soap operas. Our SEC, led by you, provides access to the consumption infrastructure, i.e. internet, television, and communication services. Many discoveries in space, on the Earth, and in the ocean would have been impossible without the space communication infrastructure. Do you agree with the classic of literature, and what do you think the space communications are today and will be tomorrow? Thank you very much for your question, Ksenia Yuryevna. Let's start with Ray Bradbury. He was the greatest writer, but I would not call him a scientific fiction author. He was more of a philosopher. And if you think about the remarkable interview, the part of which you have just quoted, the question, by the way, this question was asked by Russian newspaper Argumenty Fakte. He was asked why some of his prophecies did not become a reality, specifically why people had not yet started to colonize Mars at the beginning of the third millennium. He gave a very short answer, because they're idiots. But I think that the writer of such level, a philosopher, could let himself any liberty to say such things in the 90s. You know, there also were such authors in Russia. Bradbury's work are in many ways similar to the works of Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. His Martian Chronicles are comparable to the Land of the Crimson Clouds, but his other writings were primarily dedicated to the human relationship in the aggressive environment. Drawing some parallels and speaking for all mankind, I think the environment in which humanity lives today is pretty much the same. All mankind has all at once found itself in the aggressive environment caused by the pandemic, which affects today's human life in many different ways. The humanity needs some time to adopt and maybe get used to this new reality. Many books written by Bradbury and Strugatsky brothers provide a look at human behavior in such extreme circumstances. Speaking about our space activities, whether I agree or disagree with the statement, that the society of the literature class opt for consumption instead of science and knowledge consumption, I don't think it's true, rather than science or knowledge. I don't think it's true. The humanity has always been solving the main problem of philosophy. The main problem of philosophy is the cognoscibility of the world. Without this, the mankind would not be itself. And certainly, telecommunications mean the development of communication skills of a person or humanity as a whole. It is another opportunity to broaden the communication horizons. Of course, satellite communications, as one of the components of existing telecommunication infrastructure, continues to evolve. And I think that satellite communications will remain in demand both today and in the future. I don't think that anyone in future would come up with the idea to run an optical cable from the Earth to the Moon. Today we do not only discuss the moon colonization, but also take some real actions. Only satellite communication ensure the link between the facilities that are already on the moon or will be sent there in the future. We cannot imagine that someone might want to run some physical carriers to Mars. We only speak about satellite communications, and of course, we can't imagine the future without the improvement of this satellite technology. The ground and space segments are also being developed. At different times, various trends prevailed in the satellite communications development. The humanity has already used the high elliptical orbit and low orbit satellite constellations. At some point, it settled upon the main use of geostationary satellites. As a matter of fact, today our company successfully operates the orbit constellation on the geostationary Earth orbit, but today we observe the reincarnation of those technological approaches, which have already been well developed at the time. Today we think about launching an HEO constellation, and our proposal as part of the Express RV project were included in the Sphere program, and I believe that they will get the proper financing. However, we actively participate in the development of low-orbit constellations intended to ensure the broadband access and solve the tasks associated with the Internet of Things. It is a popular trend today. We'll talk about whether it is going to be economically successful at the upcoming conference. But to give you a complete answer, generally speaking, satellite communications have always been and will be important. The type of bands and orbital constellations that will be used for the future development depends on the specific of any given level of technology development. But satellite communications will always be in demand where there is no way to provide communication using any other technology. So, thank you. I think that's like that. Thank you for such an interesting answer. But here's one thing. Elon Musk, who is developing satellite communications, has got a main objective to fly to Mars. I think it has something in common with Bradbury's ideas, in the sense that when we focus on challenging tasks, we draw closer to some exciting breakthroughs in the world of science, technology. In other words, setting such ambitious goals is inspiring, or isn't it? Or is it better to set more realistic goals? I think it is always important to keep balance and harmonious development. The science is inextricably linked with the economy. A strong economy ensures the science development and, on the one hand, encourages it to solve the technological task associated with production. It is called sectoral science. On the other hand, it helps to develop the science. Today, no one speaks of the economic impact caused by the creation of this amazing and unique collider, which is under construction in Dubna right now. We simply cannot predict scientific discoveries that will be made after studying particle physics. Each new and more powerful tool gives us an opportunity to further explore the world. To answer your question, why Elon Musk is interested in Mars, I think it is so because he wants to develop technologies and justify some economic costs for the development of system components, which actually help to solve the far-reaching scientific task, exploration of solar system planets. Because maybe one day, I think the humanity is not yet ready for that. It will help us to start the colonization of the nearest planets. But we should keep in mind that these planets have the environment that is unsuitable for us. Of course, without deep exploration of this new living environment that is incomparable for the human body, which is quite fragile and vulnerable to external factors, we cannot think about any brighter future. In other words, this is the contribution or building blocks or steps to the future, which the mankind passes by exploring the environment. If you look back at the age of exploration, you'll see that the humanity opened new continents, regions, new ethnicities, because at some point it learned to build excellent ships and effectively design sails, cannons. At the same time, another discipline, astronomy, which was seemingly far from the maritime navigation, also developed in parallel. It helped people to navigate and finally get home. At some point, the astronomy research changed our understanding of the universe. It turned out that the Earth was spherical rather than flat. It turned out that the world did not revolve around the Earth and that it is just one of the solar system planets. And there are millions of such solar systems in our galaxy. So, Musk symbolizes, to some extent, a specific degree of technological advance and technical feasibility. He sets goals for himself. Not some super task, though. In fact, his today's goals demonstrate that there is a holistic program aimed at the achievement of the final goal, flights to Mars. So he just gradually implements it. In fact, many of the global projects were implemented the same way, and Musk is a good project manager. Well, it is obvious that all great discoveries are associated with specific names, but they are made by large teams, including international teams. Referring to the internationality, my next question is about the cooperation between RSSC and Sputnik. A few years ago, the international jury nominated you for the Best Satellite Industry Manager of the Year, and last year the RSSC won the prestigious Russian award, the Best Exporter of the Year. The company pursues active international activity and receives more than half of its revenue from its international operations, not within just one country. And RSCC has been a partner of the Operations Committee of IOC Intersputnik for almost 15 years and one of 26 its active members. Therefore, it is very interesting to know your opinion about the future partnership with IOC Intersputnik. Why does the organization play such an important role for such operators as RSCC? There are several operators who have their own satellite assets. What help or assistance can the organization provide? Well, on the first hand, I think IOSC Intersputnik is really a unique organization, and I haven't heard of any similar organizations. Maybe they exist, but I have never heard of them. Our long-term partnership shows that this organization, established long time ago, was really well planned on organizational and political levels at its early stage. The goals set many years ago are successfully achieved, largely because a small team consisting of the company's employees can properly organize the work and interact with their partners. This long-term partnership is based on one hand on mutual trust and on the other hand on the uniqueness of organizational form of Intersputnik. The exterritoriality helps to build the relationship with operator companies, entities, individual entrepreneurs, businessmen all over the globe, without being influenced by politics or being exposed to some limitations. So, on one hand, this liberty inherent in this organization helps to run successful business. But on the other hand, the fact that the organization was established by the leaders of a few countries, as well as the involvement of national governments and communication administrations, puts a specific responsibility on the organization. In other words, the companies who receive service proposals from Intersputnik are confident that, on one hand, the organization has a good reputation, and on the other hand, it has some strong partners and history of long-term positive experience of cooperation with them. And so this combination plus personal responsibility of the experts who work at the organization helps to successfully implement various projects. So the organization operates in those areas of complicated satellite business which, for a variety of reasons, can hardly be covered by traditional operators. including both primary and secondary operators. Intersputnik can arrange its contractual work in such a way as to solve the main task: provide a high-quality service to a customer without making some excessive profit or without taking advantage of complicated situations existing in different regions, but just by earning decent money. I believe that this good reputation and reliability as a partner will help us to continue our fruitful cooperation in the future. It is interesting. Thank you very much for your answer. I have a similar feeling about this. Our previous guests also have great expectations regarding this organization, which could address issues in the areas that cannot be covered by national operators due to some circumstances or lack of their own fleet. And I fully agree with you on this matter. It is kind of a red cross, the organization which helps to solve any problems on an extraterritorial and apolitical basis, and it's very important. And the Red Crescent. Yes, and the Red Crescent. The Red Cross and the Red Crescent. So we're gradually turning to my last question, which relates both to the Red Cross and the Red Crescent. Today, everyone speaks about the destructive effect of restrictive measures taken due to the COVID-19 on the economy of countries, companies, households. Generally speaking, there are many problems. How would you describe the impact which the current period has on the satellite communications? Is it the transformation which leads to unclear future, or the time of opportunities which will help us to create new economically effective working mechanism? What do you think is the most important for the development of RSSC in this situation? Well, let's start from the beginning. I think we have not yet passed through or approached the peak of that critical situation, which is caused by the impact that the virus has on the world economy. The process associated with the satellite communications take a long time. As Mr. Prokhorov said, those who deal with the satellite communications think a lot before making any decision. Now, I cannot tell you which abrupt decisions or steps can be made, how the business should be transformed, and what we should do with the satellite communications during the pandemic. I guess no one will tell you that. What impact the virus will have on the world economy? There are already the consequences, and these consequences are not favorable. There is general economic downturn throughout the world. Of course, it will affect our activities too. It is connected with the number of consumed services and difficulties in the service provision. It is connected today already with the construction of new spacecrafts, and we have to organize the cooperation between European specialists and specialists who create spacecrafts in Russia by video conferencing. Of course, it is inconvenient. Of course, it brings additional costs, but the main problem is time delay. It's not that we have to make peace with it, but we have to get used to it. We'll need some time to realize how we should restructure our activities. When it comes to the company development, I would say that today we have to focus on health and make sure that we survive this very first difficult period. I think we'll experience its echo in the nearest future. Now, I don't want to dip into the future, but it just feels this way. First of all, it is important to protect the health of our specialists, relatives, and close friends so that this pandemic would have minimum impact on the human health. The activity of our company is in the second place. As I said in the beginning, humanity lives in the environment that is sort of harmful. Life is a harmful thing. Life is a disease that always results in death. Well, however, a human is a highly organized creature and adapts to various conditions. But on the other hand, any virus, which is also a living creature, has no interest in killing the body in which it lives. Some people cope better with this virus. Other people have this disease in a more severe form. Unfortunately, we often lose our relatives and close friends. But I wish everybody good health, and I believe that we'll overcome this pandemic. The humanity overcame such situations many times, both in the Middle Ages and not that long ago, in the beginning of the 20th century. We all have heard of the outbreaks of the Spanish influenza, which killed millions of people. War, devastation, and lack of medicines came on top of it. Today, healthcare professionals are well armed, and I hope our common efforts will help us to get through this disaster. There's that. Yuri, thank you very much for this interesting conversation. I want to thank you very much on behalf of the Operations Committee and viewers of our internet channel, and wish you and your family good health. I also wish good health and interesting projects to the company where you and I work, as well as to all our employees. I think it is not our last meeting in such a format on our internet channel. And we'll definitely expand to more topics. And I'll be glad to see you again as a guest of our channel. Thank you. Thank you. And next time I promise not to talk that much about science fiction, philosophy, as well as chronic and not chronic diseases. I believe we can find another theme. Thank you very much. We'll talk more about satellite communication. Thank you.